All right, it's recording now. I'm not going to start yet, but I always have this little pre-roll of just random crap that happens beforehand.
Okay.
All right, so you good on your end?
I am great.
All right.
Just trying to upload this photo that doesn't make me looking crazy, but I think I found it. What should my caption be?
What should your caption be?
Yeah, you always need a good caption. You need something simple. I'm trying to reduce my caption length.
I'm considering quitting social media, so I have no clue how to help you.
Oh, absolutely not. You cannot quit.
I know. I'm in a weird spot right now.
I think for what it is that you want out of your life, that is the least best decision. Least best.
Here's the thing. For my mental health, I need to get off of Facebook for a while.
I love Facebook.
I'm glad you do.
Wait, what?
You know what? Let's let this be the first thing we talk about.
Let's. Okay.
So, welcome to the Purple Thunder Podcast. This is your host, Devin, and here today I have one of my good friends. You probably know him as Author John on Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media platform there is. I just know him as my best friend, John. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. So, for the people who don't know, can you give them a little more extended bio about you?
Extended bio. Well, the tape recorder is going to die out at some point. No, but that's an inside joke. Devin will tell you why later. No, but okay. So originally, I'm from Fort Washington, Maryland, which is for those of you who are not familiar with PG County territory, is located in Prince George's County. We are probably the southernmost city in Prince George's County, depending on which map you're looking at.
What state are you in? Because a lot of people don't know where PG is.
So we are in the great state of Maryland.
So real quick, I heard this joke from people outside of PG. It's like if they said, if you ever want to know who's from PG, just ask them.
I have a lot of Prince George's County pride. I actually have a shirt that says PG County Man, and my students absolutely hate when I wear it, but I'm always one of the first people to defend Prince George's County. I've been a proud resident of Prince George's County now for 28 years. One of my long-term goals is to actually pretty much run for political office within Prince George's County, more so like a councilman position or something local. Us being from Fort Washington, we're part of District 26, which includes parts of Clinton, Fort Washington, and Oxon Hill and Temple Hills as well.
So the census is coming up, so you sure it's still going to be District 26?
It changes a little bit, from time to time, but as of now, that's kind of what it falls under. So I guess by the time I run, maybe 10 years from now, some of those zoning areas may have changed.
I would suggest doing it after the census, because I've seen stories where they can remap districts so well that I saw. This was a really petty story. And I admired them for how petty it was, but it's kind of scary when you think about it. This guy was running for a particular district, and the people he was running against, they mapped him out of his own district.
Wow.
So he couldn't even vote for himself.
That's petty.
Do you gotta admire how petty that is, but that is ridiculous at the same time.
Extremely.
That's even allowed.
So going back to Devin's original question about kind of who I am, where I came from. So like I said, I'm from Fort Washington, Maryland. Since I've been a little kid, I have always kind of been like a advocate. My friends will tell you, amongst my friends, I might be the most vocal when it comes to issues about them. I've always been that guy who kind of stood up for other people, whether it be at the job, whether it be in my family or anything. Like if I see something that I don't like and it affects somebody that I care about, I'm never too afraid to say something. So I think that's kind of all maybe sparked my love for politics, because traditionally the role of a politician is to advocate for people. As I got older, I got more involved in leadership. In high school, I was the president of my honor society. I did SGA, yearbook committee. I did concert band. So I kind of never wanted to be tied down to one thing. I like to experience different things, and I kind of still live my life that way. Around the time I was 16 and 17, I had developed a love for a couple different areas, but it had caused me some conflict in my life as to whether I wanted to go into a field of statistics, education, or political science. And ultimately, I actually chose statistics of the three. So
Look, I would like to point out that you wound up doing all three.
Literally ended up doing all three. That's how funny life works. So went to University of Delaware, go Blue Hens, and there I actually fell in love with becoming an RA. It was my friends who encouraged me to look into the position. I really didn't have a desire my freshman year, didn't do much of anything on campus. I was a part of the Black Student Union, and that was the extent of my campus involvement. But my friends were all looking to be RAs, and they essentially forced me to go to the meeting. So I ended up, hearing what I liked, and, groupthink comes into play, peer pressure, your friends are doing it. Hey, you might as well apply too. So I applied, got the job, and I found that it was a job that kind of matched who I was as a person. You get to be a leader, you get to critically solve problems, you get to help people reach their potential, and most importantly, you get to kind of advocate for others because you're responsible for a floor of 30-something freshmen. So I felt like, wow, for the first time in my life, I kind of found something that matched up almost perfectly with who I actually am. And, that sensation of just having that job, it was my first ever job. I'd never worked before that. It was just this feels too good and too natural to just kind of abandon it after school. So I had made the decision my senior year to actually go into higher education. One of my supervisors at the time had told me about a website called higheredjobs.com, which is really cool. Higheredjobs.com is pretty much a database for all jobs dealing with colleges, both 4-year, community, online, whatever it may be. And I remember him also telling me about a school named Lincoln University. He was saying, hey, I know they're hiring. You should look into it. So I remember applying, and one day I got the call to come in for an interview. Ironically enough, they called me from an unknown number, so I almost didn't answer it. I was driving. You get this unknown call, and you're driving, so it's just why would I pick this phone up? But something said, answer the phone. Answered it. It was Lincoln. They were looking to hire. I went in for my interview, and I guess maybe 19 days later, I had the job and started work October 1st, 2012. So this is now my 7th school year. It's been, quite a journey here. I originally came in under the title of residence hall coordinator, which is pretty much like a step up from being an RA. I oversee an entire building as opposed to a floor, and I absolutely love it. I have about 110 students, most of them Black males from inner city areas. So it's really cool to kind of be, for some, that big brother, for others, father figure. Many of the students have told me they see me as their dad because they don't have dads, and that's a lot of responsibility, especially, getting this job at 22 years old and really taking on the role of being someone's father. It's a nice compliment to be given, but it is an even bigger responsibility to kind of live out. Sometimes you're up with a student till 4 a.m. Because they are going through some issues, or sometimes you're running to the store because a student is sick and they need medicine. Sometimes you are literally sitting there while they take 30 minutes to open up to you that they are coming out of the closet, or they're thinking about hurting themselves, or they are thinking about dropping out and they don't know how to tell their family. So this job has kind of given me a really big snapshot into parenting teenagers, because I want to be a father down the road, and I know that that's a phase I'm going to have to go through, is raising teenagers. But having this job has allowed me to see what are some of the things that they will experience. And it helps because I'm an uncle of a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. So being able to even kind of project what are some challenges they're going to go through in about maybe, hey, the next 7 to 10 years, I will be ahead of the curve and say, because I have students who come to me saying, Mr. Harris, I struggle with telling my mom I don't like biology, I actually want to study communications, and walking through those conversations, I'll be cognizant of how my nephews might feel telling us. And, just on that personal side, being that uncle to say, listen, whether you want to study engineering, whether you are attracted to the same sex, whether you want to change your hair or move out of the country, you have my support. And it's unwavering. It's not based on what it is that you did that I approved of. It's based on what you did that makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. So this job has definitely taught me a better sense of understanding with what I guess you would say kids of today go through. Being raised in the 90s, we just didn't go through certain things that students of today do. And this job has reminded me that the world has changed since 1990. Standards, clothing, ethics, everything is different. So it keeps me kind of in the loop. Some of the things I also do here at Lincoln, I oversee their Office of Male Achievement. I'm actually the inaugural coordinator of that, which is a very another 30-minute story I'm not going to get into. But all I can tell you, long story short, it goes from me being appointed in 2016 to running a Male Initiative Committee, and the guy who appointed me dying a month after he appointed me, to us now being a nationally recognized office. Has been a tremendous blessing to say that I lead that team. I have 15 great student workers. We've been able to produce over 50 events this year, some on campus, some off campus, and really service a lot of guys. We've helped raise the retention rate of freshmen going into their sophomore year from about 60-something% to now almost 80-something%. So I know that this program really does work. I just hope to be able to do more. I'm very passionate about things in the community. I am a Prince George's County 40 under 40 recipient, which pretty much means that my county has decided to recognize 40 individuals under the age of 40 years old who they feel make significant contributions to society. So I actually placed that number 16, which was a huge honor because amongst the other cohort members, we're looking at doctors, lawyers, business owners who have multiple dozens of employees and things like that. So, it's nice to know that not only did you make the list, but you pretty much made it in the top 20.
Hold on. I didn't. So, okay. So you actually like really catching me off guard with something right now.
What?
I didn't know that it was like an actual ranking. I thought.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, when most people hear 40 under 40, they just hear like 40 individuals at random. But no, I actually came in at number 16.
I mean,
so there's a number 1 and there's a number 40 and then there's kind of us in between. So
I mean, well, Derek, congratulations.
Thank you.
No, for real. I knew you got it. I knew you really wanted it, but I didn't know that it was like, oh, these are our top 40. I thought, like people make a list as like these are 40 influential people.
Right.
I didn't know they were like these are 40 influential people. This is the most influential to our least influential, but this is still...
Yeah, right. Yeah,
wow.
they rank us.
Wow. I have mixed feelings about that.
I am Mr. Number 16, which is cool because even though, no, it's not a competition, I didn't expect to be, 40 under 40, number 1 or anything like that. But number 16, just very humbling because some of the other people that I sit beside, I'm like, wow. In my head, I'm like, you're doing so much better than me. So that just really, just a blessing. I just try to honestly make a balance of the day. And probably one of the most important blessings of my life, I'm a published author. 3 years ago, I wrote my first book called Master of Ceremonies, A Male's Guide for a Successful Life. And with the help of influential people like my best friend Devin, my other best friend Vincent, my parents, and just some other great people, I was able to put together a self-help book for guys that allows them not only to learn about who they are, but ways on how to get to their next. So the book is kind of divided in 2 sections. The first half goes over who you are and how to change those things, such as time management, such as mental health, such as your relationships with your family, friends, significant others, spirituality. And then the second half of the book are tangible life skills. So there's a diagram in there of how to tie a tie. There are recipes. There is an actual page, which is really funny, but there is a model that you'll see carrying a suitcase, and it talks about things to take to the airport with you, because a lot of guys who've never traveled before wouldn't know that certain things are prohibited. So that photo is actually of my best friend Vincent, and Devin is the one who actually shot that photo. So it's a really cool kind of thing to not only have accomplished that, but to say that like people I love the most were a part of that project. I think that's the coolest piece of it all. And then very soon I'm slated to release my second and third book, Growing Gents and Girls with Pearls. They're kind of like brother-sister books. I wanted to create a new genre in the world of books, which is pretty much, I won't say create a new one, but I'll tap into one that people don't do often, which is nonfiction books for children. Most children's books that you read are once upon a time, Sally went up the well, found her prince, and got married and lived happily ever after. It tells a narrative.
So would you call these two children's books like self-help book for kids?
Yeah, they are self-help books for kids. That's essentially that's the theme of Growing Gents and Girls with Pearls. What it does is every page has an illustration, and they're conveyed through animals. So there's no racial thing. A lot of times when you see a book and you see black skin, white skin, whatever skin, you assume that it's not meant for any other race, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So everything is connected through animals. And what it does is it teaches different values that you may want to have your child consider. So, for example, one page may say a gentleman is always early, and it teaches punctuality. Or one of them is an image of a young male pig helping his mama pig wash the dishes in the kitchen. And it says a gentleman always helps around the house, because a lot of times in society, boys specifically have gotten the notion that they are excused from housework, especially things in the kitchen. And I feel like if we're going to get to a better place as people, we have to stop kind of siloing people based on these traditional gender roles and get to the notion that we're all a part of this family. We all need to help around the house. So if there are dishes and you're a male, wash the dishes. You're not too good to get a wash rag and some soap and get to work. So I'm hoping that by having literature out there for kids and for parents to share with their kids, that we can change the way that people see themselves. In the girls' book, it talks about a lady stands beside a gentleman so that she knows that she is worthy. She shouldn't be talked down to by a man, and she shouldn't be treated as less than. In the world, we deal with things like women not getting equal pay for the same jobs in corporate America and other industries. So I think by us starting them young, teaching them what they deserve and what they should try to model themselves after, we could really have a great society in the next 10 to 20 years.
All right. So I know I've read Growing Gents. I haven't had a chance to read Girls with Pearls yet. But I noticed one thing was that, they were like, this is what we should, these are the things that you should be doing.
Right.
So I guess what I'm asking is like, how are you focusing on, what are you saying for the girl? What are you saying for the girls? Because like with that example you just gave, you gave some statement of like self-worth, versus for the guys like, versus the guys like, you're just trying to conform, you're trying not to conform to like specific gender identity.
Right. So in terms
of roles, I should say, sorry.
So in terms of the concepts of the book, I will say between the two books, a lot of the concepts, a smooth 80% of them are identicals. Like both books do speak to punctuality. They speak to anger management. They speak to cleanliness. They speak to things such as being grateful, saying please and thank you. So some of those you're going to see in both books. They're universal. Some of the ones where it does deviate a little bit are things that I felt we needed more attention to. So, for example, in the girls' book, there's an image about I can't remember the exact narrative for it, but it's an image of different animals sharing clothes, kind of being congenial and cordial and just getting along together. And that kind of stems from, a lot of times, unfortunately, seeing women not get along and fight over things. So it's one of those things that, again, if we can let them know from an early age that, hey, you all are smart, you all are beautiful, you're all built differently, and those differences is what makes you unique. You all can coexist and be great. That is something that I wanted to kind of share.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and address this now. There's we're filming on location at Lincoln University inside of a residence hall. So there's a lot of background stuff you may be hearing going on, and that's just out of my control. I'm sorry. It is what it is. So we're just gonna power through. So, all right. I know that you said a lot about when you wrote the first book that a lot of women was like, can you write one? Can you write one for us? Right. And so I assume that's where writing Girls with Pearls sorry, Girls with Pearls came in. But how is it writing a book that's meant for women not being one?
It's definitely tough. So I will tell you how I made Girls with Pearls that I didn't do for Growing Gents, even though the concepts are essentially like identical twins. But I actually wrote Girls with Pearls in Red Lobster. And
continue.
With the help of one of my female friends, as well as pretty much every female customer in Red Lobster at the time and my female waitress, I asked them, I pretty much did a survey and I said, what would you want your daughter to know by the time she's 18 years old? And they provided me with a list of traits such as you're beautiful in your own right. You don't need a man to be happy. You, what else? You are equal. You are deserving. And essentially, I took the concepts that the women in the restaurant said that they wanted their daughters to become and turned those into concepts for the book. So I would be lying if I said that I wrote it completely by my own motivation and experiences. More so, this was a project of the people from the people for the people. So yes, I, paid for things, and yes, I did a lot of the footwork, but in terms of the actual ideas, it's inspired by a conglomerate of people. In fact, some of the people I've never met beyond that one interaction and haven't seen since. But especially the waitress was very helpful. She was so moved by the project. She's the one who took the paper around to get everybody to provide insight. So I actually got her name. And when I release the book, my plan is to actually return to that Red Lobster and sign it and present it to her, because much of her diligence and dedication to seeing me want to do this and giving me access to people to provide some of those ideas and concepts is really how this all came about.
I mean, honestly, you probably should have got a number instead. And
that's true. What if she doesn't work there anymore?
Hey, I want to give you this. Oh, wait, you're not there anymore.
Well, they kind of always keep your information. So,
I mean, but still, how likely are they going to release that?
Well, not necessarily release it, but they could. It's one of those things like, oh, well, I'll leave the message for her and then she can get in touch with you type of thing. So I could always leave my number or something like that.
That's a more fair thing.
Yeah.
All right. So earlier, before we started recording, I had mentioned something to John, and he kind of lost his mind about it. All right. So I was telling him about how I think about quitting social media, and it's one of those things that I've seen a lot of people they quit I've seen a lot of my favorite YouTubers like Jeremy Johns. He quit Twitter and he's just been so much better. Philip DeFranco is currently off of his social media, but he only uses it. He only looks for certain things that relates to his business. And he's been feeling so much better as well. Kevin on Stage, even he disabled his comments got disabled because of this YouTube Kids stuff, and he's been feeling better about his life as well. So I've had bouts of depression and stuff like that, and so I've recently been doing better. But Facebook isn't really. I don't feel like Facebook has been really contributing to anything good for me recently. So I've been thinking about just going ahead and quitting it, leaving a messenger up if anybody needs to contact me. But just get off. Granted, if I had gotten off before I thought about this, I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have seen my old coworker get engaged. But that's just how I feel about it. So
I definitely respect your stance on it. I think that at the end of the day, a person should always do what they feel is best for them, as long as, again, it's not hurting anybody else. But my experience with social media has been relatively positive for two reasons, or three reasons, I should say. Number one, I see most of social media as entertainment in terms of what I view on, whatever pops up on my timeline.
Number two, I've never really been the type of person who has been envious of someone else's lifestyle. So like, I don't look at the accomplishments as others as a slight against what I have failed to do. Obviously you connect with people that you generally know. So when I see my friends get promoted, houses, babies, engaged, whatever, I'm really happy for them. And it more so, if anything, just motivates me. So it's like kind of having a platform to being inspired. Like, oh, that's so cool. So-and-so just got his PhD, or, so-and-so just bought his first home, or even just reading people's testimonials. I have a lot of friends and, I follow students who suffer with mental health. So to see people that you come across every day and you talk to and just seeing like how far they've come in their life, it's like, wow, I feel like I got to know a new piece of you. And then the third reason is I feel like I get to be that for somebody else. I don't do it often. I really don't use social media to talk about like challenges per se. But every now and again, I'll do the long Facebook caption or post that talks about situations. I actually just made one yesterday talking about my challenges with accepting people for who they are in terms of how they treat me. Oftentimes we fall in love with potential and we think, well, if I stay another 6 months, it gets better. If I do more, if I give up this, they'll do right by me and all of that. And, I think that post was like 4 paragraphs long. And I said, generally, I do not bare my soul for the world. But when I became an author, I made a pledge like you have to be more transparent, because you can't write a self-help book and be a closed off individual. They're kind of contradictory. So I acknowledge that the world for which I wanted to enter required a level of, I guess you would say, breaking the fourth wall and talking to people about what you actually go through. But then I get DMs, I get text messages, I get people comment on the post and they say, this really helped me. Thank you. So it all becomes worthwhile. When you post on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you obviously post with the expectation for somebody to interact with the post. So it's very kind of nerve wracking to think you're about to write this whole essay and no one say anything. So I had written it as, if this helps one person, it was all worth it. And I think 2 people end up sharing it, and 2 people commented, and, a couple people liked it. And that made me smile. It wasn't about the number of likes. It was, did this help you make a better life decision? And it did. So I think social media is a great tool to get support. I think it just depends on how you use social media. I think some people use it to tear down others, and some people use it to kind of compare their lives, so they often find themselves disappointed. But I think if you use it as a platform to say, hey, I'm trying to do this amazing thing, can I get your support? Or, hey, I had this amazing moment, I just wanted to share it with you. Or, hey, I'm going through this. Is there anybody out there who is going through it too? Then it becomes an amazing resource. It's similar to podcasts, TV shows, radio shows, anything where we are bearing our soul for the sake of connecting with others. Social media is no different than a radio show.
Well, I disagree with you there. Because
Okay.
do you remember that Key and Peele sketch where they were texting with each other and like the context of what they were saying was lost in translation? Like everything Key was saying was like he was taking it as aggressive. Anything Pill was saying, he was just like, "Oh, that's whatever."
Mm-hmm.
You remember that sketch, right?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's how I feel with a lot of stuff on social media. The difference between like doing this and then doing something on like just posting something on Facebook or Twitter is like the fact that you actually hear the context of how I'm saying it.
Okay.
So like with this, she's like, it's like, I'm just giving my personal opinion. It's like, this is just personal to me. I'm not trying to change your mind or anything, but this is just how I personally feel. On Facebook. Jesus. All these kids. All right. On Facebook. Right? On Facebook, they, hold on. On Facebook, like, I could say something and, like, not everybody's going to get what I'm saying. Like, how many times have you seen like the same person say, "Oh, I'm about to clear out my friend list if you don't see me anymore," and stuff like that. Just like like where I see that you're having this good experience. I tend to like see social media as like remind you of what's going on in the world, not just like let's let's connect. Let's connect you on not just this level, but on every level. And it's a reminder. It's a reminder that the world pretty much sucks, and I just need a break from that from time to time. I have a filter on my computer that John Oliver made that replaces anything that says Trump with either Trump or a picture of kittens.
Well,
and then whenever I see those kittens, I get a bad piece of news.
Well, I'll say this. There's this picture, and I think everybody should see this picture. So, all right, it's two people on a bus. And on the bus, they're on the same row, but it's divided by the aisle. One person is sitting, I guess they would be on the right, and their view faces pretty much the mountain. So you just see rock and stone and stuff like that. The other person faces the window of the beach side. So you see the sun, you see the water, you see the beautiful kind of path beyond the road. And they were pretty much saying how it's the same bus, but I think depending on your view depends on your perspective. So I think we both acknowledge that social media definitely has its detrimental parts. There are some toxic people on there who just, again, use their platform to complain and to hate. Boom. But there's also some pretty amazing things. I've learned new skills on there. I've learned new recipes. I've learned new tactics to things I've never been able to solve before. There are riddles. I really just think it depends on what you're going to find and how you choose to process what you see. It's similar to like a movie. We all know that movies are made up, but you also get to determine how you process what you just watched. It's still the same movie, but it's really going to be your process as to how you proceed forward. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing with being offended by something, being inspired by something, being irritated by something. It all comes down to your processing and your perspective on the situation.
And I get that, but we're also one other issue that I'm also having is that we're also entering a point where social media is starting to become so invasive that it's basically turning into a reality show on 24/7. Like, for example, I don't keep up with the Kardashians, but I know everything about this crap with Kylie Jenner and Jordan, whatever.
Right. Jordan.
I know all of this crap, and I don't care to, because it's like that's what part of the problem is that's what drive hits. That's what everybody wants to talk about. And unlike being able to not watch, I could turn away from all the channels that just show reality TV, but when it's just become invasive, when major news brings it up, I was watching Philip DeFranco. He's one of my sources of news, and he did a 6-minute piece on the stuff going on with Kendall Jenner. And there was a week straight where he was talking about it because how Forbes said she was the youngest self-made billionaire, which is a lie. And other stuff involving her life. And I'm just I didn't ask for this, but this is being purposely invasive. I just I will dabble into it, but I want to dabble into it on my own time. And it's just I need to step away. I need to step away and have my algorithms reset. Because currently, they're it's taking me down paths I'm just getting tired and numb, and I don't like to say those things about life.
That's fair. That is very fair. I guess my advice to anybody who is going through that same thing about if social media is for them, or at least needing a detox for a little bit, is just ask yourself, what are you hoping to get out of it? Obviously, when you make an account on something, you want to be connected or you want information or whatever. So you have to figure out, what is it to you? For me, as an entrepreneur, it's a way to inform people. As an entrepreneur, it's a way to be informed. I'm constantly learning from my friend list. I'm getting ready to release 2 children's books, and I have a lot of friends who are having kids. how much are they spending on things? Where are they taking their kids for recreation? All of that is data that I need to be a better businessman. And, you know, a book that's created on effective business that was published in 1996 and might be a bestseller may not be relevant to today's parent, or maybe it's not relevant to the market for which I serve, or my most likely target area that I'm going to reach, which 9 times out of 10 would be people from Prince George's County. So, you know, I'm not going to find that information in a book. I might find some traditional practices, but my information is on social media. I'm learning that, you know, maybe a lot of moms are staying up at 2 a.m. because that's when the baby needs to be fed. So maybe I need to have an automatic post scheduler set for 2 a.m. to post certain things. And just those types of experiences, social media is teaching me people's movement. So that, again, I can kind of maximize on my product, maximize on my market. So it has benefits. But again, you have to know what you use it for. Go back tonight and ask you, why do I have an account? Why did I create it? And what was I expecting to get from it? And I think that's where you'll find your answer.
All right. So we probably should go ahead and like start talking about something else now.
Yes.
But all right. So you told me not to talk about anything that would get you fired.
Pretty much.
Cool. I've done that. I will continue to do that. However, we're gonna talk about you. We'll talk about friendship, personal life.
Ooh.
Just let me know if anything is too personal. I will cut it out.
Not a problem.
All right. So, John, I need you to look me in the eye when I say this.
I am.
Miss Lady, what's up? What's up?
So, what Devin is referring to is I've had like, I guess you would say the biggest crush on somebody for, at this point, it would be years, which is really sad how far it has gone. But I can't really be involved in that situation anymore. What I've learned over time is that I think you have to kind of set your own boundaries for your timelines in your life. And this isn't just in love. This is in everything. It's funny because like a week can turn into a month, and a month can turn into 6 months, and 6 months can turn into almost 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 to 25 years. And it's funny, I've had dozens of conversations with my friends about it, and I always kind of wondered like how things would go with it. But over time, like I just begin to see things and continue seeing things that would just let me know that that's just not really how that person views me. And for a while, I suffered with the thought of me being wrong and wanting to be wrong, because I was like, it would just be great if you felt the same way that I felt about you. But actions,
you fell into that trap of not knowing your worth.
Yeah, I really did. And back in 2019, around late January, early February, I made a daily prayer and I made a daily affirmation. And I'll be honest, some days I do fall off and I do not say it every day, but I've been pretty good. And one of the things that I tell myself is that I am worthy of love. And those simple words are just so powerful. You know, when you remember that you are worthy of something, you begin to stop settling for what you don't have, because there are so many choices out there for you. I teach my students that all the time. I just told them this as a reminder on Monday. I said, you always have a choice. Sometimes in our life, we get so stuck in what we know that anything outside of that is literally scary to us. It's like, well, I've always done it this way. I don't know any other way. I've always been friends with you. I don't know life without you. I've always dated you. I don't know how to manage without you. And essentially, you kind of become stuck. So that's where I kind of found myself, is I was stuck between what I wanted and what I didn't have, and why I didn't move faster towards something else. I went through the phase where I felt like I was being a quitter. Oh, if you try harder, if you stick around longer, it'll work out in your favor. I went through the phase of I need to make changes so that maybe I become more appealing. I went through the phase of just so many things. And what I realized is that if it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen. Prayer isn't going to make it happen for you. Time isn't going to make it happen for you. Any of those things aren't going to make it happen for you. The only key variables that make a situation work are two willing parties. So, after a while, one day I just kind of woke up, something had happened, and I said, you know what, you can't continue to do this. You can't continue to feel like this. You're waiting for something that is not going to happen for you. You are literally sitting outside of the bus stop for a bus that is not going to show up. Get up and go find another method of transportation and move on with your life. It doesn't mean like I don't talk to the person or anything like that anymore, but I do realize like I have a goal that I want to accomplish, and I can't allow for a situation that is at a standstill to continue to be a standstill. Like I'll be 30 next year, and then 10 years from now, I'll be 40, I'll be 80, and I'll still be waiting like a troll for something that isn't going to show up. And if it does show up, then I'm ready to obviously entertain it if that is what God has for me. But I kind of have come to the conclusion that it probably isn't. And I'm okay with that. For the first time in my life, I can say I'm okay with that. I'm realizing that faith and fear can't operate in the same space. The same way you can't have too much food in your refrigerator and try to put more food in there. In order to kind of get what you want in that fridge, you have to clean some stuff out. And that's just what I've been doing with my life, not only just in love and friendship and business and everything. Situations that no longer really serve me, I've been more cautious about maintaining. I've kind of taken a step back from people who make me feel unloved, unsupported, anything, because I realize I am worthy of those things. And it's crazy because oftentimes people who are achievers, we get put in this category, which is a very unfair thing to do. People do it to us all the time, is you have a lot of awards, you do a lot of great stuff, you have no problems. And it couldn't be furthest from the truth. Like, sure, over the course of my life, I've won over 100 awards from elementary school to present date. I have awards on the school level, national, state, county, local, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I've done it. But it doesn't mean that I don't go through the same levels of anxiety of other people about common situations like dating, like career, or like whatever. I have those same moments. I think the only difference is I probably just work a little bit differently to solve those problems, but I still feel the same things that other people feel. So sometimes I do struggle with that like relatability piece. Like people think that I just have everything together, and that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions. I just don't vocalize my problems to a lot of people. I realize there's no real point to going on some video and just telling everybody your whole issue if it's not meant to inspire. If it's just meant to complain, people are just like, well, you just have a real negative outlook on life. So I tend to stay away from stuff like that.
I mean, sometimes you gotta get it out.
But I have relationship issues like the next person. Sometimes I have finance issues like the next person. There are some months where I'm doing great and I could probably go to Florida 3 times. There are some months where I might be reduced to the Wendy's 4-for-4 regimen until payday. It just depends. But a lot of people will listen to this and they're just like, that just doesn't seem like that's something he would deal with. I just don't present my life that way. I never will. I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I don't want anyone to feel like they owe me anything or anything like that. I'm willing to work for it. So again, going back to Devin's topic about relationships, I just, I'm at a place where I really value myself. It's not from a place of arrogance. It's from a place of understanding that you have some amazing goals and you need to be with somebody who respects you as is. You should never be losing weight for attraction. You should never be trying to get another job to make it seem like you make more money. You should never be doing anything that makes you either uncomfortable or anything illegal, anything unethical for the sake of romance. That's not anything you're supposed to trade off. I think an ideal partner is someone who loves you the way that you are, accepts that you has flaws, is willing to be there through your flaws and help you grow by giving you different perspectives. They're also supposed to just be a friend. I think the key element of a successful relationship is a friendship. That's what I teach my students. So that's my approach with anybody. I will never date a female that I am not friends with. I can't and I won't.
She was keeping you friend very well.
Yeah, and I think I love our friendship to pieces. I love it, but maybe in God's eyes, that's all it's supposed to be. And I'm actually at a place where I finally understand and can accept that. Before, I always thought that, you know, as bad as this is going to sound, I thought God was wrong. I was like, no, this has to work. And he's just like, no, my son, it's not. Like, and I'm like, yes, I'll just give it another 6 months. No, it's not supposed to work. Give up and take that step back so that I can actually put you on a path to where you're supposed to be. So that's just kind of where I'm at in my life. It's just trying to be more obedient, especially in the area of my faith. If God is saying it's time for you to leave your job, then maybe I got to submit that resignation letter. It's time for you to move out of the state. Maybe it's time for me to pack up my stuff, even if it's not what I want or I think I want. If he's saying that's what I need to do or that's what I need to be involved with, then that's what I'm going to do.
I know you can't hear this, but I'm silently shaking my head in approval.
Not shy, in approval. You know how they have the subtitles nods with approval.
Oh God! So we've been going for a while. What do you want to do after this?
Obviously get some food. So I have not had anything to eat since about 9 o'clock this morning for breakfast. I've been trying to do better with that. I used to be an avid breakfast eater, and then amongst the path of getting busy, I stopped, and then I was just like, nah, self-care is so important. Go to breakfast, get your 3 meals a day. But something happened between breakfast and dinner that just caused it to not happen. So I'm like, wow, it's really at this point getting later. And I was just like, you just didn't even eat lunch. How does that happen? So yeah, at some point, you know, get some food and just catch up with my best friend. I can honestly say I wish that I saw him more. I don't think that's really anybody's fault. I think it's just the midst of 2 guys in their 20s trying to make it in this world. So, you know, sometimes the grind and the hustle.
Let's be honest, near 30s.
Listen, near 30s is still 20s. But I think just the hustle of
I want to turn 31st, so I have to accept this faster than you.
He does have to accept it faster. You know, but just the essence of just trying to make it happen in the world. Sometimes we don't talk as much. We have a group chat and we use that, I think, maybe I'll say a couple times a week. Sometimes it's very serious conversation. Sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, just checking on y'all. Sometimes I'll just write in there. I just want to tell you guys I love you. I think amongst males, one of my biggest pet peeves is that we do not do a good job of telling each other how we feel. We have this terrible
expressing emotion,
terrible time of speaking up when it comes to complimenting other men. It's like, if I like your shirt and I say that's a really nice shirt, I must be attracted to you. And that doesn't mean that at all. I think it's a nice shirt. I think you have to take that for what it is. Me saying I love those shoes, that those are some nice Jordans, Nike boots, whatever, it's not flirting. It's not anything more than that. Unless somebody says like, hey, what are you doing later type time. So, you know, I have students who are anywhere between 17 and 21 years old. I'm constantly working to build their self-esteem. So I'm always telling them, hey, I noticed you got a haircut. Hey, you know, you did a really good job at your performance. I'm always speaking life into them. Sometimes in my group chat, I'll pick 10 random students and tell them what I love about them. And they love that, because how many people really have individuals in their life who just uplift you? It's so sad that as humans, we know like the back of our hand what we don't do well because of how much it's reinforced in our lives. Your mom telling you 30 times between the day you were born and present date, you're so this, you get on my nerves, you're so this, and da 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 da. It's like that stuff is drilled into you. If you had an interview about all of your toxic traits and that allowed you to get the job, employment rate would be 100%. But it's a shame.
Funny story. We're doing exit interviews at the summer camp that's coming up, and my boss, the person in charge of the entire camp, she got upset at me because like my compliment section was probably about 6 lines long, but the things I needed to approve was probably like 13 to 16, and she just literally was like, "Good, you gotta stop being so hard on yourself."
Yeah.
And it's like, that was like, it was like, this was when like back when I was like more majorly depressed, but it was saying like, she just really like, hey, you're doing a great job whether you see that or not.
Yeah.
And just having that affirmation just really, really did help.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, I'm an academic advisor, so I deal with helping the students not only figure out what their major is going to be, but their career and their class schedule. And, in order to kind of have a class schedule, you kind of have to have a career direction. So there's a lot of students. I had this one story, like, I really came back to my room and I cried. Like, I called my mom and I cried. And I'm generally not one who, like, I can be an emotional person, but I really don't cry over student situations. But it hurt me so bad to see that this is how he sees the world because of what he knows. But he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his major. And that's fine. Students are undecided all the time. That's okay. But oftentimes when I help somebody figure out their career path, I want to know what you like about yourself and what you naturally feel you do well. Because I think when you align what you like with what you naturally do well, that's really where success comes for you. And he didn't know what he wanted out of his life, and he didn't know what he did well. So I'm sitting here like, oh, come on, you're 18 years old. You can't think of anything. And he's like, and he's so serious. He couldn't think of anything he did well. So I said, all right, let's try it the other way. What are some things you've been told that you could use some improvement on? And instantly he gives me an entire list, and it just broke my heart. I said, wow, it's so sad. When I asked you to speak about the things you don't like about yourself or the things you've told that, I guess weren't pleasurable in your interaction with other people, you instantly knew that. You instantly, with no hesitation, you instantly knew that. But when I asked you to tell me 3 things that you're good at or you like about yourself and you can't answer the question, that only allows me to believe that growing up, that's all you've ever heard was what you failed at, what you didn't do well.
I mean, honestly, I still struggle with that.
It's hard. That's why I love my parents, because my mom and dad, I feel like, represent the best of both worlds. Like, my mom is someone who is a really big dreamer and has always kind of encouraged me. She, from time to time allows me to, like, she gives me feedback. If she doesn't like something, she'll tell me. But for the most part, she's never really been a roadblock in my dreaming process. She's always been like a go for it type of person. So I never really felt that. Whereas my father, it took me a lot longer to kind of understand his leadership style and his parenting style. But he represents the other side of the world that I feel like most people don't want to hear but need to hear. My dad is a realist. He's never in 28 years of life, I can't even think of a time where he's even lied to me. Like, if he's not impressed, he's not pleased, he's not whatever, he'll tell me. And even though as a kid, it's like, dang, everybody wants daddy's approval, mommy's approval. But it gave me something to work towards. And I appreciated having a dad who's always been so honest and transparent, because the world isn't going to be rainbows and butterflies with everybody you come across with. And he told me, he said, some people that you say good morning to are going to respond to you. What's so good about it? Everybody is not going to be, hey, Jonathan, it's so good to see you. In an ideal world, we all want that. But that's just not the world that we live in. So having a mom who is a little bit more upbeat and has that, hey, how you doing? But also having a dad who keeps it real with you and brings you down to earth has allowed me to understand how to navigate with both type of people. So I love dreaming. I love vision boards and things that deal with the future. But I also, when I'm around those who are a little more pessimistic and discouraging about one of my ideas, it doesn't allow me to scrap the idea because I didn't get a standing ovation when I presented it to somebody. Like, if I still want to do it, I'm still going to do it. But I do keep in mind what they said. So that helps. But I say all that to say, everybody needs somebody pouring into them. And that's why, like, with my best friends, sometimes I just tell them I love them. It might not always be a I love you because you did. It's just a I love you because you're you. It doesn't need to be because you bought me dinner or because you drove up here or because you whatever. I love you because you exist in my life. And sometimes that has to be enough. And I think especially when you talk about male to male, that just doesn't happen at all. Like my brother's a hugger, I'm a hugger, so we really don't do the whole dap up thing. We actually hug each other. My dad is more of a handshake guy, and I'm okay with that. Like that's his boundary. That's how he chooses to express himself. And again, it's cool because we still embrace, but we embrace on terms that make he and I both feel comfortable.
I am learning more and more about you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I would not have expected your brother to be a hugger.
Yeah, my brother's a huge hugger. He is
several times.
Yes, Julian
never got that vibe from him.
Yeah, Julian is one of the biggest huggers, I love you type of people that you ever would get. It's funny because my brother actually has more of my mom's personality, and I actually have more of my dad's personality. Believe it or not, I always joke with my students. I say, Mr. Harris is a persona, and they laugh. They're like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, Jonathan actually loves alone time. Like, I go to the movies by myself. Dinner by myself. I love, like, anytime I can, when I go to the cafeteria, even though it's, at a university, so I'm around other students, I sit at a table alone, and that's by choice. Obviously some students come up like, hey, can I eat with you? Sure, we can talk. But I prefer the essence of alone time because it allows me to reflect. So the ability to embrace others is like a kind of, I won't say a forced behavior, but it's something like I know how to do. But similar to my father, actually do enjoy my own space. And my brother is more of the lovey-dovey, come give me a kiss, come give me a hug type of individual. But obviously he likes to hug. So, of course, I'm going to hug my brother back. If my father ever wants a hug him to any of my cousins.
All right. So the joke behind that one is I have a bet with John that I could get a hug out of his dad before he can.
Yes.
And this has been going on for 10 years now.
I love it. But it's cool though. Like, it's funny. My father has become truly like one of my best friends. And I know people say that, but I have so much respect for him for a couple reasons. One, just because he was there. I think having the job that I had, like, I had friends who kind of grew up in single family homes. So like you get it, like you've seen it. But I think having it be your students and watching them like break down because daddy didn't call for their birthday and they don't know how they're going to get home because dad said he was going to come in and he backed out, and like watching how they have gone through emotional tolls due to parental inconsistency. Like, I've never had to deal with that, like wondering who was going to pick me up from school. Was I going to get money for the organization I wanted to join or whatever like that? Like, my dad has always come through. So I've never really had to experience failure at the result of daddy dropping the ball. But so many guys across the world have. And I think it builds a hell of a resiliency system amongst yourself. But I think to a degree, it kind of hurts your trust levels because it's like, well, I put faith in this man to be there for me. He doesn't. So now I have to build a life around what if people don't come through and follow through with their word. Whereas, I'm a little more trusting because my mom and my dad always follow through with what they say they're going to do. They say they're going to come up here, they'll come up. They say they're going to send money, they send money. They say they're going to whatever, they do. Even when I wrote my first book, my mom was my editor. We were up every night till 3 a.m. helping me read through page by page and all of that. My dad gave me half the money to actually finance the book. And when I first made my first amount to pay him back, I paid him back. So that's just the type of relationship we have. I have full trust in them and I have full respect for them. But especially like with my father, growing up, he is one of 6 children. He grew up in a single family home in D.C. So, money was a little bit tight. He was raised in the 50s. Again, one of 6 children, single family home. And some of the stories that I heard, I'm just like, I couldn't imagine. My aunt was telling me like how back in the day where discrimination was a lot more kind of heavy in terms of no blacks in restaurant and stuff like that. They actually used to have to line the kids up based on skin color, which can be a very kind of a humiliating process depending on who you ask. What if you're one of the darkest kids and you got to be at the back of the line? Like, symbolically over time, what does that mean for you? You never get to be in the front. And, again, that kind of weighs on a person's psyche. Just on top of that, not being the oldest kid, not being the youngest kid, like you kind of fall in the middle of a 6 household, clan. And just things like there were years he didn't get anything for Christmas. So I know growing up, like he's not really wasn't really big on holidays. And I didn't understand that because, again, my mom is the exact opposite. Grew up in a 2-parent household, celebrated every holiday, went out for ice cream on Fridays. And with my dad not being raised like that, he, things like wrapping gifts and stuff like that were just like, why are you so anti-festive? And what I realized is that it wasn't anti-festive. It was that's what he knew. And, I think the thing that I love about him the most is that he is trying, despite like not having it and not really seeing it. He has worked so hard to be better for us because he always wanted those things. And you know how you hear people say, like, I'm going to have kids and I'm going to be so different than my parents were. But again, if that's what you've done and what you've seen and what you've experienced, can we really guarantee that you are going to be different, or will 9 times out of 10 you fall back into some of the same tracks that you were raised upon? So, like, even my dad, one of the coolest things that I ever experienced with him, he called me one day and he told me that I had a really good book. And it was a book that I wrote. My dad, I've never in 20 something years of my life, I've never seen my dad read a book. He reads the paper, things like that. He reads articles online. But to say that the first book I ever got to see my dad read was my own from a person who doesn't like to read books is just truly one of the most remarkable things, because it's like, I don't do this, but I love you enough to try. And I think that's like really the essence of a human relationship, is like, I'm willing to put unease on myself because I know that it makes you happy. I really think in terms of love, that is the highest standard, the highest burden of proof that someone can meet to show that they love you, is that they are willing to do this for you. And with him, like, telling me he loves me, he is proud of me. Like today, I got offered a summer job and, he calls me and he's just like, I'm really happy for you. You've been doing your thing and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wow, it means so much more to me when it comes from my dad, because I won't say it's hard for him. But again, he just did not grow up in an environment where there was a lot of positive reinforcement. So it is really like he has to push himself to be that for me. And he tries and he does. He goes to, he works every weekend. So on Sundays, he watches Joel Osteen. That's his church and he loves it. And he'll call me and he'll talk about what he learned and, things like, and I'm just like, this is so cool. Like being able, being in your 20s and having a new type of adult relationship with your dad is great. Like talking about God and that's not who he was growing up. They didn't go to, I think actually he was raised Catholic, but I'm just saying, like, really, he pushes himself every day. And I see it like he pushes himself to be better for us. If you bring something to his attention, instead of being defensive now, he'll say, you know what, I'll work on that. And I respect the hell out of that man, because, again, I know so many people who were raised in rough environments and they just let that environment just succumb, or I'll say they succumb to that environment. But he really fights that. I really respect him. I always said, like, when I got my first kind of major wave of money, like, best-selling author, and I feel it's coming down the road. I work hard for it. He will probably be the first person I take care of. Unfortunately, he don't really like a lot of kind of flashy things. So honestly, I would just get him a one-leveled house. He don't want a house with stairs, so that'll probably be the thing I get him. And he loves cleaning his car, so maybe some car cleaning supplies. I know that sounds very bland, but hey, you got to get people what they like. So yeah.
I feel like you'll just give him like a set of keys and like just throw it in his face, like, this is yours now, take it. Yeah, he's great. Like, I just, my mom is great too. I don't want you to think just because I went on a rant about my dad that my mom is bad. My mom is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful person. Like, much of what I have accomplished in my life has been because of my mother always believing in me. I can't remember one time where she didn't have a good feeling about it. She always just tells me all the time, I'm so proud of you. If your grandmother and grandfather were alive, they would just be so happy to see this new thing happen for you. And always, like, she called me today with a great opportunity that she got. And it was cool. Like, I got a opportunity in the summer to make some extra money and do some cool stuff. And then she got a job. So we called and just talked about it. And it's just really great.
that she's been that. The reason I even ended up on Fox 5 News doing the weather for a day as a 10-year-old was because of her pushing me to do that. She always pushes me. She talks to me about going back to school to get my master's. She talks to me about making sure I'm on track to finishing my next 2 books. She talks to me about making sure I'm being mindful of my credit so that I can buy my first house, and just pretty much a lot of life skills. She has, as funny as this sounds, my mom has developed manuals for my brother and I. She's a very detailed person. So the first time I traveled out of town by myself, I was like 21 years old, and she made an entire what to do at an airport type of procedure, like better than anything any airline could ever make. A custom.
Did she write your book before you wrote your book?
Essentially, she did.
Are you plagiarizing?
So we always joke about. Is this
a hot scoop I'm getting right now?
So the joke that we always had, because my book is called Master of Ceremony, she said I'm going to write Mother of Ceremonies, and she says she's going to write the spinoff, and it's going to be a list of life tips. But since I've been a little kid, she's always been teaching. There are times where she's like, hey, come in the kitchen, I want you to learn how to do this, whether it be how to peel something, how to cook something, how long to cook something. I'm just always teaching. So, it's funny because my parents are essentially like polar opposites, but I am so grateful for that. I have my mom's vision, I have my dad's focus and discipline, and I think when you put that together, you get a pretty cool product, if you ask me. So I'm just grateful for them. They don't really ask for much in return. Every couple months, I take them out to TGI Friday. They like Ruby Tuesdays. They get this like glazed pork chop or something. So they're very kind of easy people to appreciate. But I have a group chat with them, and pretty much once a week, I'm just thanking them. Not because I need anything. I'm like, I just want to tell y'all thank you. So yeah, that's my parents.
And with that, I think we should go ahead and take the time to wrap up. I would like to thank everyone for listening. And also, John, just thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. I know you had your say for a lot of the show, but like I did with the Proto podcast that you guys will never hear. I'll give you a chance to take over if you want to do anything, say anything, plug anything, whatever you want to do for the next few minutes.
Sure. So again, I'm Jonathan. Thank you for everybody who's listening. Beyond my selfish plug, I just want to use a quick couple of seconds and just continue to support my friend. I pray for him every day, and I believe in him so much that I often tell God, if you have to choose between blessing me and blessing Devin, choose Devin. That's one of my secret prayers I say almost routinely, because I just believe in him and I believe in this and everything that he's doing so much that I know that I'm going to be fine in my life, and I want him to be fine too. My greatest kind of vision that I see is us being able to, even though we kind of are desiring different things, but us having equivalent success in our own realms and being able to just kind of fellowship over that. So I'm excited for his big break. I always tell people he is really the next Steven Spielberg, but more importantly, he's the first Devin Miller. Just great individual. I don't know how I got so blessed. Some days I don't feel like I'm deserving of him, because he's just the type of person who literally one day I was feeling sad and came up here and bought a dog and a pizza to cheer me up. I just can't ask for better. I really couldn't. When you think about what a friend is supposed to be, he is that. I love him. He's just great people. I don't think the definition of a good friend is who you get drunk with or who you break the law with. It's really who's in your corner when you don't have anything, when you don't feel anything, when you don't want to do anything. It's that person who will sit down on the floor and cry with you. Hell, if it comes down to it, I think that's really who you need in your corner. And I teach my students that all the time. When I'm describing to them at 18 years old what they need out of their life for a friend, I'm describing Devin. I said, it's great if y'all have matching Gucci belts. It's great if y'all both have a love for Fortnite. But the type of friend that you need is one that reminds you that it is going to be okay, and they will stay by your side until it becomes okay. That's really it. Everything else kind of works itself out. The money's going to come and go. The weight, the fame, the fortune, the all of that all fluctuates. But really a good friend by your side, a good significant other, and a good mentor are really just the 3 things that you need. Everything else works itself out. I guess for the little selfish plug part, I'm on Instagram Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter at Author John. That's AUTHORJON. My website is authorjohn.com. So I'm in the process of doing some rebranding. I want to, have some motivational videos that come out. I feel like I have some really important things to share with the world, and I hope that you all use this platform to listen. Outside of that, down the road, some of my long-term projects, you will see me running for office one day. If you're a PG County resident, you'll see the large Harris lettering with my picture and all of that running. Might be a 10-year goal.
Is PG your only goal?
I don't know if I see it higher than that. But again, I'm open to whatever door God brings me to. If he sees something larger like governor, president, whatever that is, I'm a servant leader. I'm willing to serve wherever I'm needed. So if that's bigger than PG, then it is. But if it's just PG, if it's just my small city, town, even if it's just neighborhood council president, if that's where he needs me, that's where I'll go. And, I want to do that. I'm working on a software app. I've been kind of wanting to write an app now or design an app for 4 years. I've been saying it, but I finally have the idea. I have the name. So just putting some things into place. So you'll see that soon. Obviously, my second and third book, Growing Gents and Girls with Pearls, is coming very soon. I'm extremely excited to become a 3-time published author. It sounds cool, but it is a lot of work. And I'm just excited to bring something new into the world of books. I want to make reading cool for kids again. Like, my God, I hear people get mad at their kids for always being on their phone, but do you even have a bookshelf in your house? Like, we have to begin to re-strategize the priorities of what we want our kids to be. We can't push a set of values on them if we ourselves don't live that way. So, I want to make reading cool for kids again. I want to help more Black males publish books. Definitely. I think a lot of us have a story to tell, and hey, instead of turning to a bottle or some drugs or something like that, why not make some money off of it? Why not change some lives off of it? Why not learn a new skill off of it? So definitely want to do that. Within the realm of higher ed, I would definitely love to continue to do works with like men's advocacy and men's programming. Ideally, I want to go back to school, become a master of science and leadership or higher education or even business, just to be better at what I do. And last but not least, kind of on a personal note, I just want to continue to be a better person. I try my best to pray that God continue to work on me. Again, a lot of people see me as someone who is very inspirational and motivational, and I'm so glad they see me as such, but I want to continue to be that. I don't want any level of success that I have reached to change me. I made a promise to myself when I became valedictorian in high school that would not be my last notable accomplishment. I made a promise to myself when I wrote my first book that would not be my last notable accomplishment. 40 Under 40, my national award for outstanding men's program, all of those things, they're great and I'm happy for them, but I don't want to ever become comfortable. I feel like life has so much more to offer me and I'm willing to chase it and I'm willing to work for it. So all I ask is that you support me in this. Hold me accountable for being the best that I can be. Hold me to the standard of being that inspirational person that I am. Come out and listen, come out and learn, come out and challenge. I think, heck, that's something we don't do well in the world. We don't know how to stand behind being challenged. I'm always willing to learn. So if there's a philosophy that is not that strong, help me learn some new points. If I am ignorant on a subject, educate me. That's how I'm going to grow. And I hope to do the same for you. So again, thank you.
All right. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Purple Thunder Podcast. We'd like to thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting, and we'll see you with the next episode. With that, I'm Devin, one of your hosts, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.